Yeah, we are live.
Okay, great. I think we are live. Uh, yes. Just a moment. I think audio is a problem. Is audio a problem, Ishita?
No, it's
Okay,
fine.
great. I think we are live. Okay, perfect. ठीक है. So, yeah, we are live at 6:05. We have folks here. Okay, great. So, in today's session, I'll keep it very short. We have an hour of time for this particular webinar. I'll keep it very short. We'll typically focus on three questions which get asked to you in any MBA interview. It doesn't matter you are a fresher, it doesn't matter if you have WorkX. These three questions will definitely get asked. And these are your moments to impress the panel who's interviewing you, right? So essentially, before we start, right, let me just quickly run you through my introduction, and then let's directly jump into the three questions which will definitely get asked in any MBA interview that you sit for, and the responses to this will actually guide the interview forward, right? Or the interview panel will have a very good impression of you once the interview is complete and you leave the room, right? So before we start, why am I here? Just quick introduction, won't take a couple of minutes. Um, why am I here telling you about the MBA space? So I graduated from IIM Kozhikode back in 2019. Um, and before that, I'm typically an engineer turned MBA grad. I have worked for 3 years in the product vertical at BYJU'S. And 2017 was the time I realized that, hey, I just know how to build and develop products. I don't know how to sell, market, price them. I don't know the business aspect of it, right? So, hey, let's do an MBA and figure out, right? And cut to 6 years after my MBA, I'm currently developing AI solutions and also figuring out GTM for our AI solutions in global markets, right? So hence MBA helped me in that way. I took a small detour of 2 years in sales and marketing uh, that I understood how the physical distribution essentially works at Samsung, right? But this is what I do right now. I build AI solutions and I also uh, develop playbooks to market them to different clients, right? As well as there's a B2C arm as well, right? Okay, so that's a quick introduction about me. Let us go directly into the topic. Before that, just let me see. Are there any questions? Okay, great. Okay, so the first question that gets asked to you in any interview, 99% of the times, the question will start with, tell me about yourself, right? So I'll tell you how this entire scenario pans out in a interview setting, right? So as of now, most of the B school calls have already come out, right? Be it any IIMs, right? Your Blackie IIMs, your CAP IIMs, your ZAP IIMs, right? All the interview calls have already come out, right? So as part of this interview calls, you may be asked to fill up an application form, right? So there's an application form which you fill, which will have a details about your graduation, your 10th, your 12th, your work ex, and they may even ask you some behavioral questions or application essays that you may have to input in some of the application forms, right? Now, this is the only information that any panel has about you. typically they don't ask for your resume, right? So the application form is the only information that any interviewing panel has in front of them, along with your WATs or your JDs or whatever you have done in that interview on that particular day, right? So now it is up to you, right? So that is why they ask you, tell me about yourself, right? So they have a biodata of you in front of them. Now they want to kind of know कि यार from the horse's mouth, अब बताओ, what do you do? What have you been doing? And just introduce yourself, right? Now this is the interview context, and the setting is in a way that typically interviews run from February to April. Some colleges stretch it to May also, right? Now the interviewing panel, which is made of very senior professors, right, have to take a lot of interviews, right? And they would have seen a lot of folks like you come in and go every day, right? So every day the interview probably starts from 9 and ends at 4 or 5, right? Consider 20 minutes per interview and a 5-10 minutes gap in between, right? So day on day, the number of interviews that a panel takes is pretty big, pretty huge number, right? And the interviewing panel listens to same answers time and again, right? So hence, if you are interviewing in February, the interviewing panel is fresh. If you're interviewing in the morning, the interview panel is fresh. Come evening or towards the end of, let's say, April, May, anybody, right? No offense to any professor out there, but anybody, right? If you are interviewing a lot of candidates, you would kind of um, have some sort of understanding कि अच्छा ये तो यही बताने वाला है, right? This guy is only going to tell this answer, right? And hence the so-called many of you guys call it as a stress interview, right? The interview panel grilled me a lot, right? It's coming from that. It's coming from there where the panel has been asking questions to candidates like you time and again, right? With similar answers, right? Everybody says the same answer, right? So hence the level of monotony is very high uh, for the panel per se, right? Now what they're expecting is somebody comes in and opens my eyes, right? And the first question is always this: tell me about yourself, right? Where you can actually open the interviewer's eye. No matter when you are interviewing, no matter, it doesn't matter whether you're interviewing in the evening or whether you're interviewing towards the end of April or May, right? You have to open the professors and the panel's mind. Yes, wow, ऐसा आंसर किसी ने दिया ही नहीं अब तक, right? That should be the professors or the panel's reaction. And how do you do that is something I'm going to decode right now, right? So this is a, a small group. You can read English, and if you cannot, just you can pause the video and read it, right? So first thing is you talk about your people talk about your hometown. I am from X hometown, and I went on to pursue my bachelor's from XYZ. You talk about your UG, your undergraduation. If you have WorkX, you talk about your WorkX, and then you talk about the things that define you over and above your academic or your professional career, right? And you conclude it, right? So this is typically any tell me about yourself should ideally be, right? And this should be roughly 60 to 80 seconds in duration, right? Don't exceed 80 seconds. Don't keep harping on one particular point and don't take it out of proportion, right? A quick, brief introduction about yourself, right? And how can you make interesting is something I will tell you, right? So let's take an example, right? Now, so typically people talk about their hometown, right? So let's say I'm XYZ and my hometown is Dhanbad. This is essentially how people will start. When the professor or the panel asks you to introduce yourself, they will say that, hello, sir, hello, madam, I am XYZ. I come from Dhanbad. and then move on to undergraduation and work ex if applicable, right? How can you make this interesting? Is that when you greet the panel, hello sir, hello madam, I'm XYZ, I hail from the coal capital of India, which is Dhanbad, right? The sentence is the same, the meaning is the same. I come from Dhanbad, right? But you're adding one additional hook, is what we call, right? The hook that it's a coal capital of India, right? And why are you adding this hook? Because you want the next set of questions to be based on this. Now, the interview panel is expecting such an answer, right? But if you say that I am XYZ, I hail from the coal capital of India, which is Dhanbad, right? Their eyes are open now, right? They exactly know what to ask you as an next question, which will typically be around Dhanbad, which will typically be around coal, right? Which will typically be around energy in India, right? So you know that you have to prepare around this particular point, which is the coal capital of India, right? So from a very boring answer, the first sentence that you say, you made it very interesting for yourself as well as for the interviewing panel as well, right? After this, if you have any achievements during school, you can talk about that. Don't tell that. Don't talk about facts like I stood first in my class ninth. I've been very good in academically. Don't say such things if you have really done something well. So, for example, there are folks in our current VAT-PI program which we conduct, where people have won national Olympiads or have represented India at an international stage. So that is very commendable achievement, right? There are also folks where they have gotten a district or a state merit in their academics, right? So they were state topper, they were district topper, they were city topper, right? So such achievements you can quote, but not very generic achievements like elocution competition where I stood first, right? Such things don't matter essentially, and if you say such things, it will actually bring down your candidacy, right? So the first sentence that you say has to be a very memorable one for you as well as for the interviewing panel, right? Now, after this, you will go towards your UG, right? Typically, people say that, hey, I'm XYZ, my hometown is Dhanbad, I completed my graduation in some field from ABC College, right? Short introduction, right? This is what people typically say. And this is what panel is expecting you to say, right? But what will make you stand apart is, hey, I'm XYZ, I hail from the coal capital of India. You add a connecting line, right? Or a connector is what we call between the city you're from and why you're doing a particular course in your graduation, right? Growing up in Dhanbad, I realized the importance of sustainable energy and went on to pursue my bachelor's in petroleum engineering from ABC, right? Now I've taken an example of Dhanbad, right? Do research around, you might be from some other city, some other state, right? Do your research around what are some of the important notable uh, people who have come out of your city. It can even be, let's say you're from Hyderabad, Satya Nadella is from Hyderabad, right? So I come from a city where Satya Nadella comes from, right? So I'm interested in tech. And that's why I continue to pursue my computer science and engineering from JNTU or any college, right? So that linking should be there and it should be very coherent, right? Now, just because you grew up in a coal capital of India and you went on to pursue computer science engineering, there is less of a connect, right? But if you can form that connect there, then it's very good, right? But if you cannot form that connect, right, you have to think of ways of portraying yourself, right? So here, because I pursued, or this particular person pursued petroleum engineering, and he's from Dhanbad, so hence there is an energy link there. So that is something I will place here, right? So growing up in Dhanbad, I realized the importance of sustainable energy and went on to pursue my bachelor's in petroleum engineering, right? So this has already made you 2x interesting than a regular person, right? The next question, you talk about work experience, right? Now, if you have work experience, you talk about that. If you don't have, then you move on to your hobbies, right? So here a normal person will say that, hey, my hometown is Dhanbad. I completed my graduation. I currently work as a plant engineer at Shell. Example, let's say he works as Shell, right? So his entire career trajectory has been around energy. From the place he was born in to what he's doing now has completely been around energy. So this is something you have to identify, right? So when I say that this is tell me about yourself, right? These are 5 points you have to mention in tell me about yourself. So identify the linkages across these 5 points that define you. That is a reflective exercise which you have to do, right? So identify the linkages across these 5 points, right? Now here the linkage is fitting beautifully. Energy is the linkage, right? So Dhanbad, petroleum engineering, and then my work X is at Shell, where I'm a plant engineer. And don't say I'm a plant engineer at Shell, right? What is the impact of the job that you do? That is more important, right? I'm currently working as a plant engineer at Shell, enabling plant operators increase their productivity and helping consumers get uninterrupted access to power at homes, right? So you are actually showcasing an outcome here. Ki what is the type of role you do and what is the impact of the role, right? The impact of the role is that you enable plant operators to increase their productivity, right? And not only that, you also help consumers get uninterrupted access. So you must be able to have a 30,000 feet view of the work that you are doing. This is something I see missing in a lot and lot of candidates, right? They are so deeply immersed in the process of the work that they're doing that they fail to recognize the impact it has on on the world or the society at large, right? Now you may be actually just focusing on one line of your plant, right? But the overall impact of that line is essentially you are basically benefiting some other person somewhere else, right? So these are some reflective exercises that you have to do about yourself, and you have to always focus on impact quantification, right? So see, if you can showcase impact, that makes you different from others because people will be focusing on the process and they will not be able to see large picture, the big picture, right? So here it shows that, hey, it makes you interesting, that your entire career from the day you were born to who you are right now is all about energy. And it also shows that you are impact oriented. You can see the world at a 30,000 feet view, right? Which already makes you, in the first question, it makes you 5x better than the other candidates, right? And such an answer will literally open up the panel will be very impressed by your answers, right? So hence, the next set of questions will be around energy, Dhanbad, and your plant. Your work X, right? So the intent is the same. The way you are showcasing your answer has a story behind it, right? It makes you 5x already better than other candidates, right? So this is a small tidbit about this particular question. 99% of the interviews start with this question. And that is why you have to capture the panel's attention here, right? The remaining 1% can be fate where you don't have it in your hands. They may ask you anything, right? So that typically doesn't happen, but there are cases, one-off cases where that happens, right? So the first impression of the panel is, yes, this guy is he has a story to tell, and he's already focusing on the impact, right? So I'm glued to listen to you more now, right? As a panel, right? Yeah. And then the interview goes, you direct the interview with your answers, it goes on, and somewhere in between or towards the end, there is always a question of why MBA, man? You are doing well. You are a plant engineer. You are already impacting a lot of consumer lives. You are helping tier two rural areas get uninterrupted access to electricity. MBA कहाँ पड़ता है यहाँ पे, right? And this is the first one, part A. The part B is why XYZ B school, right? That's the part B, right? And this is the blueprint of how you answer this particular question, right? So do you know who you are? We'll get into the specifics here, right? What have you done before an MBA? What do you want to do after an MBA, right? So between what have you done and what do you want, how will an MBA help? And the part B is why this particular campus, right? The reason I'm focusing on both, these are two separate questions. It is a one questioner. Sometimes faculties just ask you why MBA. They expect this answer of why this particular B school in their answer. Sometimes they will directly ask, yaar, up to matlab, you have a good CAT score, you have a good ZAT score, you have a good NMAT score. Why not this college? Why you will go there? Why not? Why will you come to this college? Right. So that is essentially why this B school is the underlying intent of that question. Right. Okay. So let's decode this. Right. The problem that many candidates do here is that, and even in our own BATPI program, I have seen a lot of candidates think this कि मैंने ग्रेजुएशन कर लिया है, राइट? इंडिया में अभी एमबीए करना है, राइट? आई हैव टू गेट अ बेटर सैलरी, आई हैव टू गेट अ बेटर मैरिज प्रपोजल, and hence MBA is treated, or masters is treated, as the end point, right? If you say such answers, your interviewing and your chance at that B school ends there, then and there, right? Many of these candidates make this mistake, right? So MBA is just a milestone, right? Before the interview, right? Any panel expects that you have done a reflection exercise about yourself. You know who you are, you know what you want to do in life, right? And an MBA is just a means for you to get there, right? So it's like a train, right? You want to go from point A to point B, and you have to take a train. MBA is that train that will help you get from point A to point B. MBA is not point B. Okay, so point A is your origin, right? Who you are, what are your skills and experiences, right? So who you are, may essentially they would have already gone through your academic background, your professional journey, and they don't know about your motivations. That is what it means, right? So in this particular question, you have to say that I come from, let's say, this particular guy, right? The guy from Dhanbad, right? Sir, I'm from Dhanbad, right? I've been into energy my entire career till now, right? But I have certain gaps, right? In my knowledge, in my exposure, in my experience, or let's say I want to do decision making. I'm not able to do that right now in my capacity, right? And I have this particular gaps, skill set gaps, experience gaps, exposure gaps, right? And I think an MBA will help me bridge those gaps, right? To become XYZ, right? That XYZ is essentially your short-term goals and long-term goals, which is your point B, right? So you should always say, if just asked by MBA, you should always have a structure key. This is me. These are my skills currently. These are my gaps in my skills. And MBA will help me bridge those gaps to become a short-term goals and eventually long-term goals, right? So example, I come from Dhanbad. My entire life has been around energy. Currently working as a plant engineer. I lack, I do maintain, I do have certain qualitative and quantitative skills. I have good people skills, but I'm not in a position to make business decisions right now. which I would want to do, right? To become a management consultant at a MBB firm, right? Now, in order to become a management consultant, I need to have decision making powers. I need to understand how decisions are made. I need to understand how business model functions, right? I believe this 2-year journey can help me that, right? Now, they will say that you have to also cover all the loopholes in this answer, right? They will say take up some certification course. There are a lot of certification courses available online, right? Why do you want to invest 20 lakhs and over 2 years to do your MBA, right? It's 2 years. Opportunity cost is very high here, right? So hence you have to come to your long-term goal. How will this MBA experience of 2 years help you achieve your long-term goal, right? So a long-term goal should be something like a leader. I want to be a thought leader in this particular space. I want to become a partner at MBB. I want to start my own company in this particular space, right? Right now, I'm not able to do that because I have these skill gaps. MBA will help me bridge those skill gaps. But not only it will help me bridge those skill gaps, it will give me my first break required to work as a consultant, right? It will help me with the peer networks, which I will form in my MBA and post MBA as well, right? So all these small milestones and small aspects will help me become an entrepreneur, help me become a partner, help me become a thought leader in this particular space, right? That is your long-term goal, right? So essentially, point A is who you are, what are your skill set, the path is the gaps that you currently have, right? Why MBA right now also should be in that answer, otherwise they will ask you, right? And then where you intend to be, it is your short-term and your long-term goals, right? All this in again 60 to 80 seconds, right? So I've actually given you a lot of ideas and a lot of a blueprint about tackling this question, right? In this question you should also include why this particular B school, right? Now, why this particular B school, right? Don't say, sir, आपका curriculum बहुत अच्छा है. Your curriculum is great, sir. I've gone through the curriculum. It sounds amazing. You have excellent faculty and infrastructure. The campus is beautiful. Your brand and legacy are impressive, right? Very, very generic, right? The way you can uh, uh, phrase it is that do a research about the college, right? I'll tell you how to do research also, right? You need to do research about the college, right? So for example, you have excellent faculty in infrastructure. It would be an honor to learn from Professor XYZ, whose marketing work I have followed for the past so many years, right? Example, FMS is flexibility in second year. You have 5 electives you can choose, right? You can also look at changing courses. It will be very good, right? So research, it shows depth of research here, right? And anything unique about a particular B school, right? Every B school will have something unique about it, right? So I have graduated from IIM Kozhikode. IIM Kozhikode is one of the India's first institutes to have a business museum in India, right? There's something unique about IIM Kozhikode, right? And instead of your brand and legacy are impressive, talk about what are the things that you will do in your MBA life, right? Every college will have a vision and mission. Every college, every university will have, right? Now you have to link your values, your vision and mission to the university's mission. Because essentially what they are looking at is that whether this guy will be a good fit to study in our college, and will he or she be in a position to take the values, take the vision and mission of our institute to the larger world, right? So that is something they are looking at, right? So hence, how you align with the university's vision and mission, and how will you amplify it by your presence there is something you have to include in by the specific reason. Okay. Now, I talked about research, right? So how do you do this research? about universities and colleges, right? So before that, let me see if there are any questions. Okay, there are no questions on the chat. Okay, there is a link there. So essentially, I'm talking about the back PI program. I'll talk here. So for that, let me share my another screen. Yes. Yeah, I hope my screen is visible here. Let me see. Let me do. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So we have a MBA admissions bootcamp that we run. We are in the sixth season of this particular program. In case anybody is having interview calls and are looking to convert their dream B school, do check out our program. We have it's called the domain to access is backpi.insideiim.com. We are in the sixth season. In the 5 seasons, we have trained more than 500 students, and 94% of those students have converted the best B school calls. Right. So the program has already started. I'll tell you what all you will get as part of the program, but before that, I will tell you the study materials you require to nail or to grab your dream B school admit, right? So let's start with the college USPs, right? So we have curated and compiled a B school USP list, right? Uh, this contains every club committee that a particular B school has, right? So we have for IIM Lucknow, IIM Kozhikode, IIM Indore, Isaac, Gurgaon, Calcutta, IFT, FMS. So you name the B schools, we have it here. If you find that you don't have a B school listed here, which you are appearing for, do let us know. We will help you out, right? So this document essentially contains what are the club's committees. For example, let's say IIM Kozhikode, right? Let me open this. Right. So what are the different club committees and events that you have? Blackwaters, Conquest. These are events that are there as part of IIM Kozhikode. Unique feature, as I said, business museum, right, is a unique feature, right? So similarly, you will have multiple B schools ka USPs listed, right? So this will help you in answering why this particular B school, right? Um, so we have live sessions. So I typically conduct live sessions. I have already covered 4 live sessions. I've uploaded only 3. I think one more I'll upload it today. You have sessions around drafting your SOP. You have sessions around VAT. You have sessions around GD, and you have domain specific sessions also, right? So essentially, what I find out is that, let's say everybody wants to become a consultant, right? The people who have enrolled in the program, as well as during even my time, everybody joins a B school to become a consultant, right? Like only half of them know what essentially awaits them and in consulting. They don't know what a consultant does or how does he work, what are different practices he can get into, how does a career progress, what are the exit opportunities, doesn't know, right? So hence I also help you decode all these, right? तो मार्केटिंग में क्या कर सकते हो आप, कंसल्टिंग में what can you do, operations में what can you do, and what is the scope of work you will do, what are the exit opportunities after that, right? So domain specific knowledge sessions also we will have as part of the live sessions, right? Right. um, then you have your academic work, right? So we have compiled a list of questions related to economics, maths. Typically, people say I'm very good at economics, math, and right? Stats. So hence, we have compiled a list of such questions which can be asked to you, and you can prepare for that. Apart from that, we also covered UG concepts, right? So UG concepts will cover multiple facets of engineering. So mechanical, production, automobile engineering में क्या क्या पूछ सकते हैं, right? Similarly, production, electronics, civil, commerce, economics, maths, BMS में क्या क्या पूछ सकते हैं, right? We have covered everything in this academic primer, right? You have I see a lot of folks have not prepared their or updated their resume, though it is not important right now. It helps you during your summer internships. So hence I would suggest, if you have some time in between your preparation, to kind of build your resume. So we have resume formats also for that, along with the action verbs, which are very impactful, right? And more importantly, we have post MBA domain knowledge, right? So for example, I always say that everybody should know um, about an industry. How do you analyze an industry, right? So there are materials available online, offline. You can even consult somebody. But how do you essentially analyze an industry is something we have collated from multiple sources out there, right? So for finance, for HRM, for consulting, for operations, everything is listed here, right? So there are different case books that you can refer. These are all publicly available sources, right? So essentially, what we help you, right, is a curated knowledge of um, the MBA admission space, right? You can do this on your own if you have the expertise, if you have the guidance. Please do it on your own, right? But the time is very short. Interviews are starting as early as February now. You have just probably 2 3 weeks at best to kind of prepare. Now, in 2 3 weeks, will you keep researching on what to prepare, how to prepare, or you want some guide who can tell you, ki, hey, prepare this, prepare that, right? So we have curated a lot of these study materials for you, which will definitely boost your preparation journey. Apart from that, we also have current affairs and opinion. So typically people ask about your opinion. Panels ask you about your opinions on such topics. So we have also collated a list of important events, right? India in 2026, static GK, current affairs, some events that took place, and this keeps updating, right? And one very important exercise which uh, I make you do once you enroll in this program is this candidate reflectionnaire. So the moment you enroll in the program, the first step is to reflect upon yourself, right? You need to be able to answer who are you, right? And why do you want to do an MBA, right? So there is a 7-page document with a list of questions, right? Which will help you understand who you are, right? Which will help you frame your answer to tell me about yourself, which will help you frame an answer to why MBA, and also covers a lot of application essay questions. It covers a lot of behavioral, situational, and HR questions, which typically gets asked to you in the interview, right? So if you want a blueprint to reflect, this is a blueprint, right? So this is the first step that anybody should take in that preparation journey, is to reflect inward, right? And then once you are done with your version of this, I sit with every candidate. I've been doing this for the past 2 weeks now. I devote 2 to 3 hours for every candidate and help them refine and shape these responses, which is more important. You will have a response, right? But it is not shaped well or refined well in order to be put in front of a panel. So I will help you shape, refine, and kind of think more on a particular question, right? So this is the first step, um, and then we have 5 mock live interviews. You have one-on-one mentorship sessions with me. You have 10 live sessions, as I said to you earlier. You have VATs as well. So we also help you with your VAT. How do you write VAT? We also help you with GDs, SOP assistance. So study materials I've already shown to you what all materials we provide. How do you select your domain, right? I'll come to Ayana later, right? You also get free access to MBA prep material worth 5,000. This contains solving cases. How do you solve cases? And also some business fundamentals around operations, marketing, product, finance, consulting. There are some primers for that. So we help you with that. That bundle is worth 5,000. Also, because we are living in an AI world and AI, you can definitely expect some AI related and technology related questions in your interview, right? So we have AI for business track, where you get to know about different AI tools being used in a particular domain, which may help you in your MBA interviews, but will definitely help you for your summer internships, right? So all this is at a price of 11,199. So I think the 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 the, uh, the link is there in the chat. In anybody wants to enroll, you can enroll. And I talked about IANA, right? So here is IANA. So IANA is an MBA admissions counselor. So InsideIIM has been into the MBA counseling and admission space for the past 10 odd years now. So we have a lot of user stories. We have a lot of insights into how an aspirant prepares, and we've kind of compiled it into an AI bot and called it Ayana, right? So Ayana helps you with a lot of these modules. So it helps you analyze your profile, right? So you have to upload your resume and it helps you analyze your profile. You can track applications here, right? The problem is that there are a lot of things. So typically, if you're sitting for cabs, apps, a lot of applications that you will fill can actually kind of maintain a tracker here, right? Typically, essentially for folks who are applying to private colleges, right, will find this useful because you apply to a lot of colleges and a lot of colleges have a lot of deadlines, right? If you want to know anything about B school, right, any B school, right, best B schools in Mumbai for finance, MBA colleges accepting 85 percentile CAT score, which B school has the best ROI under 25 lakh fees, anything just need to ask, right? INR recommends, so let me show you actually, this is our staging version. I'm not, I've signed here, right? So I've already done some B school finding exercises, right? So this is my analyze my profile, right? So it has given me a strength. It has kind of bifurcated my profile analysis. It has identified red flags, right? What B schools can I target, right? So dream, target, and safe. And what are the actionables to improve my profile strength, right? Is something there. And we also help you fast track your applications for specific of many of our partners, right? There's an interesting module or interview practice, which I believe that it would be of help for um, uh, a lot of you guys out there. So we have kind of given you a 20-minute mock interview on how the MBA interviews will typically look like. Um, so this gives you a first-hand experience of what is it that you can expect in an interview, right? So I've completed my interview. Let's say took a mock interview. It gives me a profile evaluation and gives me interview evaluation, right? Around 5 competencies, right, which are essentially in one way or the other being tested in the interview, right? Along with key observations and areas for growth. What are the recommendations for me, right? So, in case you guys want to practice mock interviews, head on to ayana.insideiim.com. There's an interview practice module. Take an interview, right? And see, right? You get to learn a lot of things. Okay, now back to the presentation. I think I have covered most of it. Uh, just let me fire up the deck first. Okay. So I think I've covered about study materials, right? Um, So this is about our bootcamp. What is it that you will get in our MBA admissions bootcamp? As I said, you have 5 mock live interviews with mentors like me and others. We have different types of interviews. We cover mostly case interviews, stress interviews, behavioral interviews, and just random interviews also, right? You'll have 2 one-on-one mentorship sessions with me. You'll have 10 mock VATs evaluated, 10 live sessions, domain sessions around VAT, GD, domain sessions. Um, you'll have 10 such sessions. A lot of these application forms requires you to write an SOP. We will help you with your SOP, frame, polish, refine. Study material, as I was already mentioned to you. IANA is there. So we have launched IANA a couple of months back. Uh, do test it out, do try it out. It would be very helpful for folks who are preparing for their B school admits this year, right? Apart from that, you have courses and all this at a price point of 11,199, right? Then I think I spoke about IANA. So you can head on to IANA and practice. You can analyze your profiles. You can figure out which B schools you are eligible for. Essentially helpful for folks who are in the sub 90-95 percentile category, and the fence sitters, right, who are at, let's say, whether I'll get an admit into an IIM Indore, or whether I can make it into IIM Ahmedabad, or whether I can make it into a Jim Goa or an SP Jain, right, or an IMT Ghaziabad. So the model has been trained on a lot of such parameters. So do test it out, do try it out. Okay, I think we are towards the end of the session. So we have covered the blueprint for tell me about yourself, how to make yourself interesting, what are the hooks that you can introduce, and a common connect between your answers, right? We also figured out a blueprint around why MBA, and a sub part of that question is why XYZ B school, right? And I also helped you understand the study materials which you need to master or at least go through to be able to talk in the interview for about 15-20 minutes. And along with, in case you want to practice mock interviews, in case you want to understand which B schools are a good fit for your profile, head on to iana.insideim.com and chat with our AI bot, right? I'm ready to take any questions in case you have. You can put it on the chat window as well. Okay. So I'm not, there are no chats here, but I think I've received some questions over email earlier. We have done a webinar. We had done a webinar, I think, last week, answering some of these questions which you have asked in the interview questionnaire which was floated earlier. So tell me about yourself. I think I've decoded that here in this particular session. Um, how interview how interviewers actually judge answers like why MBA. As I mentioned to you, there's a framework that you guys need to follow. They will check for intent and whether an MBA can definitely help you in achieving your goal, right? So intent must be there, and whether it forms a coherent, your answer is very coherent, right? And logical is what they check. Um, why this B school? Again, I've answered this. Um, how to talk about hobbies without sounding superficial? Questions. Um, so essentially, if you want to talk about hobbies, right? Uh, talk about. Um, so you need to kind of frame your answer in a very structured way, right? So if you have multiple hobbies, let's say you like reading books, you like playing sports, right? You read books for intellectual knowledge and you play sports for physical fitness, right? So these are two principles which guide you, for example, right? So intellectual knowledge के लिए आप books पढ़ते हो, आप sports खेलते हो, right? So you can frame your answer in that way, right? Then they'll ask you questions around what is the recent book you have read. Uh, do you agree with the author? Do you disagree with the author? Why doesn't this author's viewpoint hold true in this case, right? So they ask you some follow-up questions on that. Even your if you play sports, they'll ask you questions around. Let's say you play cricket, they'll ask you opinion-based questions, right? So women's cricket currently, it is the women's Premier League is going on in India. Do you think it's a good platform? Do you think X should be in this team? Y should be in that team? Why wasn't Z picked for a team? You can get asked any question, right? So you need to prepare well, right? So how do you structure hobbies? Answer is basically this, right? So you have multiple hobbies. Why do you do a particular hobby? And what is the impact it has in your life, right? So reading, I do for intellectual simulation. Sports, I play for physical fitness. Right? Example, I'm just giving you example. You can have multiple hobbies, right? Yes, one thing I want to say here is that don't talk about I watch movies or I watch TV series as a hobby, right? In India, everybody does that for entertainment, right? So nobody can be focused 24 hours, right? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, right? So hence everybody watches movies and TV series, right? So don't include that in your answer as hobbies. That is not a hobby. That every Indian does that. Everyone in the world does that, for that matter, right? But if you want to add that, right? I also tell this to my students who have enrolled in the VATPI program is that if you want to add movies and series, right? You better be good at it. You better know about the entertainment industry, right? So you need to frame it that way. I'm very intrigued about the mechanics of a movie or the mechanics of a TV series, right? And I like these genres, right? So here you are actually making the interviewer ask you what are the mechanics of the industry, right? Is the entertainment industry booming in India? How does distribution work, right? How does IMDb work, right? Where do people go and post about movies? Are you a movie critic? Are you a movie reviewer, right? So if you can answer in-depth questions about movies and TV series, like what a director does, what does a production house do, right? What does an cinematographer's role in a movie or a series, right? What is the meaning of box office, right? How does a movie make profit? How do cinema theaters and multiplexes profit, right? Be damn sure that you know how the engine of movie making works if you mention that, because that is more interesting than you saying that you watch movies. Um, why and IIM will help me grow. Okay, I think we have covered all those questions. So yeah, I think more or less we've covered the questions which were asked. In case you guys have any questions, please post it in the chat. Me or somebody from my team will definitely answer your questions. And if you have gotten calls, B school calls from any of the colleges or universities, don't miss it. Structure your preparation very well, right? You can do it yourself if you're very confident, or piggy bank on somebody like us who have expertise, and we can help you crack your dream B school, right? So with that, we are at 7 o'clock and it's 1 hour. Let's end the session here. Uh, we'll keep doing these webinars time and again. In case anybody wants more information on our VATPI program, please do put in the chat or go on to vatpi.insideim.com and post your queries. Right. Okay, with that, let's end the session here. Thanks everyone for watching this session, and yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in for this session. I hope I was able to add some value to you. All the best for your B school journey this year. Right? Hope you guys crack it. Okay. Ciao. All the best.